Breathe in. Stories take us, you can breathe out too. All different directions. Stories are the way that we understand each other. And sometimes your first impression is not the right one. Sometimes people deserve a second chance. Sometimes we need to listen more. A good leader knows how to follow as well as lead. I taught at a high school in California in the Central Valley. And I started class in a different way. For you see, I'm really concerned about violence. I'm trained in nonviolence. So today I looked at my teenagers and I looked at them and I said, I have been jumped 4 times in my life. I must wear this banner. I have been jumped 4 times in my life. And my high schoolers want to know the full story. What happened? And I began to tell them that some of you might think I have a reason to be angry at a certain person or a certain culture or a certain this or a certain that. And that's the first thing they want to ask me. Where were you jumped? What kind of people were they? And that's the answer I never give, because it perpetuates some kind of stereotype. But you see, I was sitting with these teenagers, and I listened to one child, one young teenager, who said, as he walked out the door, yeah, Mr. Cordy's a coward. And I thought, wow, did I say anything at all? And that's when I went to my desk and I started looking at some of the paperwork I was looking at. English teachers, you know. And there was a young student, young Hispanic student standing in front of me. He waited until my eyes lifted up to his, and he said, Mr. Cordy. And I looked at who it was. He was very quiet. He'd just come in from, I think, Los Angeles, and he just said very quietly, Mr. Cordy. And I said, Juan, what do you need? He said, Mr. Cordy, tell them it's okay. Tell them it's not too late to turn around. Tell them. And I knew, being a storyteller, that those papers weren't important. That I needed to listen. Even though he had the quietest voice, I said, tell me your story. And he said, I just moved in from East Los Angeles. Mr. Cordy, I may not look it, but I was an SDM, a 7-down Mexican. That was my gang, Mr. Cordy. I didn't have much of a home life except for my mom. Mr. Cordy, I was an SDM, and I thought they would protect me. And I was further out to another gang's territory. And I wasn't supposed to be there, but I was with a friend who was also an SDM. And somewhere, the other gang showed up. And this one kid, that's the tallest of them all, he was more of an adult than he was a kid, Mr. Cordy. He took out a small pistol. And he put it in front of my face. And he started laughing. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. I was scared, Mr. Cordy, more scared than you'll ever know. He laughed and laughed. I said, but my friend's here. And when I turned around, he'd taken off. And he clicked that pistol. It wasn't loaded, Mr. Cordy. But he laughed, and I ran, and I ran. And I ran on the bus. I don't know if you know about East Los Angeles' bus system, Mr. Cordy. But anybody can be on that bus. And I got there, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, so I sat wherever I could. There was this woman, she had long hair. She was kind of looking at the ground. She had some groceries. I moved those groceries. I sat down, and she saw the SDM on my arm. And she said, so you're an SDM, are you? How dare she say my name? How dare she say the name of my gang? How dare she? She said, I used to be an SDM. SDM. Yeah, that takes me back. She said, and I looked at her arms and they had lines like a roadman. I could tell she had a tough life. When you just look at someone's eyes, you can tell that they've aged at least 15 years. And I looked at her eyes, and she had her hair in front of her face. She said, I used to be an SDM. She said, let me show you what the SDM did to me. She took her hair and she moved it to her side, and there was a knife wound on her cheek. She said, nobody ever protected me. You know who did this? SDM. And she took her hand and cradled my chin. I didn't even have the words. And she said, it's not too late to turn around. Turn around, son. It's not too late. It ain't easy, Mr. Cordy. It ain't easy to go from one place to another, especially if you don't have a lot of money. But Mr. Cordy, I talked to my mom that night. I really talked to her. And it took us 1.5 years. But we saved enough to come to East Bakersfield, here in California. And it's still not easy. And you know, Mr. Cordy, they say that East Bakersfield is the most polluted area in the entire country. But you know what, Mr. Cordy? It's where I turned around and I learned to breathe again. Tell him, Mr. Cordy, it's not too late.